Hey everybody. Okay, we're back and we had a problem with delete before. Sorry if you heard that sound, I was adjusting the microphone. Um, we had a problem with delete before and it wasn't knowing what the ID was. And we had problems duplicating it, but it looks like the problem was the ID record's not getting set here, this hidden field. So let's go ahead and create a scenario. We'll hit save. And then let's go ahead. Oh, I added this clear button. Should that still be there? Yeah, I guess so. Doesn't do anything yet though. Okay, so we'll wire up that clear button too while we're here. So if I add another record, let's go Tom, save. And if I delete, nothing happens. Save. Tom happens. Delete. Nothing happens. Save. So you can see here that it doesn't know what the ID is because that's what's happening even if I hit save. So we've got multiple problems all stemming from the same thing. Delete doesn't work, which delete isn't doing anything right now. It's not even clicking the button. So let's see, does it delete now? Now it does. Delete must have a catch on it. So let's go ahead and see what we have here. And the delete button. See here the delete button's got this return. I don't remember if it was there before or not. I might have added that while I was debugging to see what was wrong. So if we didn't have that, which I don't think we did, this is getting the ID value, and then it was going immediately here and putting nothing, which would then result in the error that we were getting on delete. So checking the ID first. So we're going to put an if statement. If not ID means if it's false, if it's falsy basically. It doesn't exist, it's false or whatever, return. Because then we don't have anything good. So that's actually what was the problem. Now, the ID should be filled in when you click on that record. It should be there when you add that record. If the form's blank, it shouldn't be there, which it wouldn't be. So that's part of it. You could probably hit delete when there was nothing there, like when we very first came into the form. So having that check is good. Now, we need to have that ID filled in. So one of the problems is, from that, we have this post or put. And when we come in here to actually add the record to the table, we're not setting it anywhere. We've got the address ID, but we're not actually putting it on that hidden element. So what we need to do, it's this one getting. This one's getting get element by ID, address ID. So this one's getting the row. So what we want to do is use something to document.get element by ID. And we want to get that ID field that we have in that form. And I'll show you which one it is. It's this one right here, this hidden input, because we're not setting it. So when it comes in to delete, or when we go to edit a record, it doesn't know. Well, editing a record actually does populate it, but after a save, actually it was a save of a created new one, a newly created one. This value wasn't set, so when we hit delete, it was removing it. So what we needed to do was in here. Where'd that go? We needed to get the element by ID, and then we needed to set its value equal to the address.id. All right, now that'll make that work. So if I refresh the page now, and let's go ahead and remove that if statement just for now, so we can actually see the effects of this. So we're going to refresh. So if I hit delete now, we get that error, right? So we put the if check in, that delete wouldn't be a bad thing. So let's go ahead and select Tom, and we hit delete. Let's clear these errors so we can see. We hit delete, and it works fine. If we add a record, and we save, and then we delete, it deletes the saved record because we put that ID in. Now that would have been another issue, that it wouldn't have been able to delete because that ID field wasn't set. So that takes care of that. Now we have a clear button. Say somebody's editing and they don't want to edit anymore. So you should be able to press this clear button and it clears out the form. Now that was easy enough to do. Let's see, it's just setting the button to be a reset is enough to actually make it do that form thing. Now, the problem with this is it will probably not clear out that hidden field. So document.getElement by ID, and let's see if that ID field still has a value. It does. So let's go ahead and be explicit about this. There's that value. So even though there's not a record selected, it still had that old value. So what we want to do now is add an event listener on this reset. So where our other code is for the form, somewhere down here, we've got an add listener for submit. Let's go ahead and do a form.add event listener for reset. And we just put it in line. We don't have to have a save, or like we do for the save function. We just put it right here. Let's got. All right, and then what we're going to do is document dot get element by ID. That ID field, you gotta spell it right. And we're going to set the value equal to nothing. Now that'll clear that out. Okay, ready? Let's go ahead and do this. Refresh the page. We'll add a new record. Tom, we save. All right, so now our ID is probably set. All right, and then we're going to do a reset. And it's empty. So now it's not there anymore. So if it goes into that delete thing, we still have that error. So now we're going to go ahead and put that delete check back and say if not ID return, which will immediately just say, it'll come here and say, I got nothing to do, and just send it back. And then we'll refresh. Okay, let's go ahead and add another record. Let's make it Tim in this one. All right, we'll save. Tim's added. If I hit delete, it deletes it immediately because now it has the ID set. And if I hit delete now, it won't do anything. Clear, delete, save. Save is still doing it, so now we have to check the save part. This is all part of finalizing what you've done. We've made it, we've got a full API, but we are testing it to see how the users are interacting with it, and fixing anything that could be messed up with it. So on this check, the save check's actually kind of difficult because if it has an ID, then it's okay. But we don't want to send anything blank. So you notice we had a blank record. So we sent a bunch of blanks down there. So we probably want to do some validation on this save. So we've got all this data. What we can do is, let's just do a check on some key fields here. So let's say if ID is not really the one we want to set because that's going to determine if we're going to do a post or a put. So that's not the one. But we can check email. So if not email, so that could mean that is blank. Or let's say not address one. So that this is kind of like making them required. So we're saying, let's not do the address. Let's just say somebody wants to be able to save the email. If they want to, they have to save an email, period. That's what they want. That's what the minimum thing we want to have them save. So then if there isn't an email address, let's just do a simple alert. And let's just say email required. And then we'll return. That's a simple check. And we're using an old style alert box, but that's fine. And then if we refresh, we're still going to have that blank record until we restart the server because it got there. So if we try and hit save now, we get the save button and we got another blank record. So let's see what's going on here in our debugger. The script is here. So on save, we have, there's all the elements. Let's do it. Oh wait, we need to be in sources. Okay, now we need some room. Okay, we need the save operation. Let's get a little bit more visibility. Can't go too far, otherwise that other thing will pop out. Okay, so save button, save button. Here it is. So let's see what happens when we get here. So we've got a blank email. Save. Oh, email is set to the document element value. That is weird. Oh, right, because it's in a data object, so we have to do data.email. Let's do that. See, email is actually getting the ID, getting the element by ID, because that actually by default, when you add an ID to an element, it automatically gets added to the window namespace, so to speak. And if you do an email here, it's actually set in Windows, so it's actually pulling the element because we have the ID on it. What we need to do is pull data, which is this name, dot email. That will get us the email that's here. Otherwise, we're getting the email element. So now let's go ahead and do that again. Let's let that run through. We'll have another blank record, and that's okay. So now we're going to try and hit save. We've got 2 blank records. All right, let's hit save, and we shouldn't have another blank record. So now it's going to say email is blank. So now we should get into that alert. Email required. We say OK, and then we return without saving another record. So it didn't add another one. So that's fixing that. I don't know that there's actually any more issues now. Let's go ahead and restart the server to get rid of those blank and test it out one more time. Oop, wrong way. This one. All right, so we'll stop it here. We'll go to the application and restart it. Okay, let's refresh, and all the records are gone. Let's get some space so we can see. We don't actually need this open anymore. Let's get rid of the breakpoint too. All right, so let's add a record. Okay, email required, so we can't just save right off the bat. That's good. We save Bob. We'll clear the form. Let's save Tom. Let's delete Tom. Let's add Tim. Let's delete Tim. Okay, looks like it's all working. So now we've got an API, a RESTful API that does post, put, get, and delete. So a full REST API as far as CRUD's concerned. And then we have the UI that matches. And that's it. So that concludes this exercise and this part and the Java crash course. So look for other courses that we have. The next one we're doing is probably on the front end. And thanks for watching.